So today marks about 2 years since we transitioned to rural life and started our self-sufficiency journey. It's been a journey of a lot of learning, a lot of rewards, and a lot of connecting with nature.
Over these 2 years, we've immersed ourselves into the simplicity and serenity of rural life. And during this period, we've been able to cultivate our own organically grown food, and also been able to raise indigenous poultry.
It's been a very transformative experience for us, and every day we learn and we keep learning how to live in harmony with nature. Today, we'll be sharing with you how the journey has been, where we started and where we want to be.
Yeah, one of the main motivation for us deciding to move into the village was, I think, the congestion in the city vis-a-vis the serenity in the rural life. Because every Christmas holiday we used to come to the village to spend with our parents and cousins and all that, and you could easily just see the difference. When you're in the city, it's congested, life is very fast. When you come to the village, it's relaxing, it's serene. There are trees around, you can go for walks, nature walks. So that life was very different. We enjoyed being in the rural setting. And also, as we leave the village to go to the city, our parents could give us food from the village. We get sugarcane, we get vegetables, we get avocados and all that. And we used to enjoy that food a lot. So we thought, what if we are able to grow this by ourselves? What if you're able to live this life that we only enjoy once a year during the Christmas holidays? And so we decided to try it.
So the other thing that was a great motivator for us to start our own self-sufficiency journey was about food safety. When we got kids, we started wondering about where food comes from, how it's handled, and things like that. In previous videos, I've spoken about my experience with the food vendors, where I would always try to question them where the food comes from and things like that. And most of them didn't used to give me concrete answers, apart from a few who, there's one particular one I've spoken about extensively, who would tell me that today, whatever I have is not safe for your child to consume. And the next day he would tell me, this, I know where the source is, I can confirm this is very safe for your child to eat. And that such kind of experiences made us really think about our food, and we wanted to give ourselves the experience of knowing where our food comes from, what is put in the food, how it's handled to the time it gets to our plates. And that was one of the greatest motivators for us to start our self-sufficiency journey. So, like most of you, back in the city, we know, like, even the things like that we get, like collard greens, the ones people consume almost on a daily basis, they usually sprayed with a lot of chemicals. And it's very difficult to know at what point were these chemicals sprayed. Do they spray and bring them immediately to the market? It was very difficult to know such things. But here on the farm, we are able to grow our things organically. We don't put any chemicals, and we handle everything ourselves. So we have the comfort of knowing that our food is very safe to eat for us.
Another reason that we actually thought of moving to a rural life was COVID, in the sense that COVID came and life just stopped in a couple of weeks. And there was a lot of uncertainty during that period. People were losing their jobs. You're not sure you have a job the next day or the next week. And that brought a lot of uncertainty in people's lives and stress and all that. The other part is that we were locked in a house. Like in Kenya, I think we had the lockdown for almost 2 years, close to 2 years. You could just not go anywhere fun. You could not even take a walk sometimes to a nice place, because even the parks at some point were closed when people so that people cannot gather around in large numbers. And so there was a sense of lack of freedom too. You know, there's uncertainty about making your expenses, and also lack of freedom. And every time you could call in the village, there are people going around doing their own business. They are living in huge tracts of land. They could go for walks and all that. And we thought, yeah, it's about time we also made a decision.
Yeah, so during the lockdown, we watched a lot of videos, quite a bit about self-sufficiency. We actually saw a lot of success. Different people had gotten a lot of success in their self-sufficiency life. And of course, because we desired the freedom and the huge space for our kids to play, just in case anything ever happened, and even if it didn't happen, we still have the space and the kind of life that we wanted, a bit of freedom for the kids and space to play. When the COVID restrictions were eased, we decided to visit a bit of areas around Nairobi, just whether we could buy some land and maybe try and build something for ourselves there. But the land was quite expensive at that point. We could not be able to afford it. But we thought we have some land in the rural area. So the next thing we wanted was we have land in the rural area. Why don't we just build a home for ourselves and start our self-sufficiency journey from there? And this was the very beginning of our self-sufficiency life.
So yeah, the final aspect that was important for us to consider before embarking on this journey was our jobs. And we were lucky enough that the nature of our jobs allowed us to work remotely. And I believe we are disciplined enough to be able to perform as expected while still working remotely. And then with frequent visits to the office when expected. Our very first step before embarking on this journey of self-sufficiency was setting up a home. A comfortable home where you're all going to be comfortable and live better than we used to live in the city. And so we first had to sit down and we had to first sit down, look for an architect to draw for us a house that we wanted here in the village. And we wanted a spacious house vis-a-vis what we used to live in Nairobi. We wanted a nice, spacious house with enough bedrooms, big kitchen, and everything. Just we wanted to live better than we used to live in Nairobi in a spacious house. So we had to look for an architect to draw for us a plan. And then we had to look for a quantity surveyor to see whether it's to give us the cost of the house, and we had to check on our finances to see that we can actually afford to build this house, and which we did. And then we also realized that the kind of house we wanted and the kind of finances we had at the time, the finances were enough to set up a house, a comfortable home, first of all, to start living in, not luxurious, but comfortable, so that we can move in at that time. And so we did that, and then we came to the village, looked for a contractor or a foreman, someone to build the house, and also laborers, with his own laborers. And also we also had to identify where we're going to set up the house exactly. And as you've seen in our videos, our land has a slight slant. It's downhill from the top of the hill to the river. So we had to also consider that that aspect, where to set up the house. So as you'll see from the videos that we've done, the earlier videos, although they are not of very good quality, but the earlier videos we did, you can see some how we started building the house. So the guys had to come in, dig to levelize the area, dig up first of all, and then levelize the area so they can put up the foundation. And this house took us a long time to build because we were having this dream, I think a year, sometime in our dream started sometime in late 2020, and we started building the house around March 2021. So it took us a long time to build it because we had to save and then put up the foundation and then put up the walls and then put up the roof and then the windows and the steel doors. And then we took a little break and we came back. So we did the plaster inside the house and then a little break again. And then we saved enough to come and do the tiling and the kitchen shelves. Yeah, and then while constructing, at a certain time, we realized that the guy who was building the house was being mischievous with us. And so I think we moved in August 2022. We moved to the village so that we could be close and supervise the construction of the house. At that time when we moved, our house was not yet complete. So we lived at our cousin's place for, I think, around 3 months, while now doing the final touches, like the painting, the tiling, and we had to change the contractors at that point because we'll speak sometime in this video about the challenges of putting up a house, especially when you're not around. So we also experienced that a lot. So we had to come around, we had to come in, stay at our cousin's house, which is close by, and then supervise the final touches of the house. And we actually moved into the house when we had not completed. In fact, we didn't have tiles when we moved into the house. We only tiled our bedroom and the kitchen. And at that time, we shared our bedroom with the kids. So that we can actually stay in our own house and continue with the construction. However, there's some beauty and satisfaction in staying in your own home. However, even if it's not complete, we really loved the first day we moved into our own house. We enjoyed so much We didn't even consider the other things, that it was not yet complete, but we enjoyed staying in a house. So the house has had its own challenges, especially with the contractors. But that's part of the journey. We've grown. We've really grown. That's part of the journey. And remember, as I said, the house was the most important thing for us. We wanted to come to the village and stay comfortable, more comfortable than we were in Nairobi. So the house was the first step, and it took us almost a year to actually make it comfortable enough for us to live inside there. However, we moved in before we had completed the construction. Yeah.
So as we were constructing the house, the final touches and things like that, we also wanted to have a front yard where we can sit, even cook outside, play with our kids, entertain guests whenever there are guests around. So we bought a few trees. These were some of the very first trees that we planted. At this point, they are about 2 years old. We have several more on this side. We have a lot of trees that we planted, even including this one. So most of the trees here are 2 years old. Now, we also, at the same time as we planted the trees, we also planted these living fences. We wanted a bit of privacy and things like that. So around the house, this was the very first living fence that we did. We did do another living fence on the other part of the farm, but that was way later on. So this is the biggest living fence that we have. And the other thing that we did was to plant grass. So this area was actually, I can say it's false ground because of the terrain that they had to deal with. So the ground was a bit raised and things like that. And we did change our grass about 3 times just to get to the grass that we really liked. So we are still in the process of beautifying our front yard, but we are really amazed with the results that we currently have. And we really enjoy being out here every day, just enjoying the fresh air of the village and playing with our kids every other day.
So now that we are done with the house, the other aspect is, after now you have your shelter, you need to eat. I think we've explained in some videos that before we came here, we had started a project for chicken at our parents' place. So we had small number of chicken over there. So when we came to our compound the first time, these are the first constructions that we started with for our chicken base, because we had very few birds at that point. We didn't even have, I think we did have turkeys then. We had chicken, we had ducks, and then we had guinea fowls. So this was the first construction that we did for the poultry, so that we can be eating eggs and some chicken meat, so that we start enjoying our self-sufficiency journey. Well, here I've seen our chicken has laid eggs and I need to collect them. We didn't know they were here. We just noticed now. Yeah, so that's 5 eggs. When you collect eggs, don't collect all of them. You leave the chicken one egg there so that it knows that's where it lays its eggs. Otherwise, you take all of them away, it's going to move from this point and look for another place to lay their eggs again. So that's it, yeah. Yeah, so when we moved here and did this chicken coop for our first birds on the farm, they started multiplying and also increased the number of poultry we had. We brought in turkeys. We actually brought in one male. I don't know if I can show you. One male. He's the grandfather of everyone on the farm. And then we brought in one female, this one. And then the numbers of birds started growing. And that's where now we moved to the other part of the farm that we're going to show you.
So at the same time, we also acquired some local breeds of goats. We got a mom and her kids, and this is where we used to house them. We'll talk about why they are no longer here on the farm. This is where we used to house them, and we used to feed them locally. The grass on the farm, the shrubs around the farm, we used to feed them locally. So this used to be housed here. Currently, we are using it as a chicken house. And we also got some rabbits. We bought them along the way from Nairobi to Kisii. We did get some kids who were selling rabbits on the roadside, and we decided to promote them. We bought some rabbits and brought them. This is where the rabbits reside, and they multiplied quite fast. So in our first year, we actually used to have rabbit meat. At the moment, we haven't had rabbit meat for a very long time. We just decided to keep them as pets. And we'll be telling you some of the projects that we've also done with rabbits because they've been multiplying quite fast. So we decided to kind of have a nice project for some school-going kids, and we'll be mentioning that later on. So this is where we housed our rabbits, and we feed them using weeds from our farm. We've spoken about that before, just to reduce the cost of feeding, because we don't buy any commercial feeds for the rabbits, and we also never used to buy any commercial feeds for the goats that we had. And even for the goats, we at some point we actually got a male goat. Uh, we already slaughtered it because we have some other projects that are coming up. So, and we'll be speaking about that in our future when we speak about what future aspirations we have for the farm.
Once we did the, as we moved down here, we did the construction of the first chicken coops and brought in more poultry like turkeys. Now we had guinea fowls, we had turkeys, we had ducks, we had chicken. And they started growing in numbers. So at that time we were consuming eggs, but they are laying eggs, and we used turkeys to hatch the eggs, and they grew in numbers. At some point we started struggling, one on housing, and two, we also experienced diseases when the birds are crowded in one place. So we had to struggle with those two things. And that's when we moved from there and put up this chicken coop. Yeah, it's quite a big chicken coop. Forgetting the measurements now, it's been a while since we built it. But this, we feel that on the top it can hold like 500 birds. And then below we have a space for guinea fowls and a space for turkeys. So now we mix them up a little bit. But during this period, during the first year over here, we had so many turkeys. We consumed a lot of turkey meat. We had challenges with turkeys again because we realized after a while, after a couple of months, the small turkeys get to about 4 months and then they start getting sick. There's this disease that the turkeys start, they have yellow diarrhea, and we tried to treat that and we couldn't. So we lost so many turkeys. Yeah, so we lost so many young turkeys, and we learned another lesson there. So we stopped, we slowed down on how many turkeys we have on the farm. So now we usually have manageable numbers. Like now we have what? 1, 2, 3, 4. I can count those ones. And we have about 5 adult turkeys, and we have 8 small ones, 2 months old. And then the chicken also exploded in numbers at that point. We had so many of them. There was crowding. We started getting diseases on the farm. We started getting like, a time we had Newcastle, and then there was a time we had fowlpox on the farm. And then the common one, I'm forgetting, with the white droppings. Just forgetting, I remember I'm going to mention it. So we had to figure out a way. We used to bring a vet on the farm. It was so expensive. Then you had to recommend we give antibiotics. We didn't want that. And so as you are reading and watching videos online, we discovered, I think, what has been magic for us, which is the use of local, either herbs or local vegetation to boost the immunity of the chicken. And that's why I think I need to show you this because it's very important if you're going to do this kind of farming. That is having pepper and aloe vera and ginger too on the farm. Here I don't have ginger, but this is a very good way of keeping diseases at bay. I believe aloe vera and pepper helps us some nutrients inside that help boost the immunity of the birds. So this worked perfectly for us, that we've been using now for several months since then, and we have less disease on the farm. Sometimes, like now, we've not had disease on the farm for the last couple of months, but it's because we do this regularly. Almost every 2 weeks, we give them pepper, sometimes aloe vera, sometimes a combination of the two, and then sometimes we give them ginger every 2 weeks. This has really helped, and I think I recommend this for every farmer who's going to do this kind of self-sufficiency journey and does not want to use a lot of whatever antibiotics for their chicken on the farm. And I feel like I should show you this and how to do this. I feel like I should show you this. It's quite important. It's going to help you very much. It actually worked for us. It's quite simple. We have pepper here, lots of it. Then you get some aloe vera. This is how you do it on the farm here. Just you can either slide or cut into we cut into very small pieces like this. It takes you 5 minutes to do this, and this will protect your birds for a while from will boost their immunity. And the best way to do is to grow on your farm. You grow pepper, whichever type of pepper on the farm, and you can also grow aloe vera. Very easy to grow, so that whenever you use it, or whenever you feel like you need to use it, you just get it from your farm and just do it. So you just, once you cut them into small pieces, you put a little water and just crush it. Anyway, some people blend them, but you don't want to use a blender to do this, because you still use it in the kitchen and you have small kids in the house. So once you crush it, we just mix it with the water. We used to remove the leftover pepper and the one that has not been crushed, but we realized one day we left all these the small particles of pepper and aloe vera, and the chicken ate all of it. So once you do that, put them in the water, and now it's quite hot, so they're going to drink that water and even eat the small peppers inside there, which is healthy for them. And just to remind you that chicken do not taste the, because that's nini of pepper, so that it's going to be very, what is it called, I don't know what the feeling is, eh? Yeah, it's not going to be very hot for them. They don't have the bud to taste the, yeah, the hotness of pepper. You can actually see them eating the small particles of aloe vera and the pepper now. Yeah, so the population explosion was one of the main reasons, but the other reasons that we had that population explosion, one is we were able to identify the right breed, the indigenous breed, 100%. We call it 100% indigenous or kienyeji breed. We were able to identify that over time and be left with only that breed. And also, it's a long process, because you identify the type of cockerel. You also identify, you're able to give them fresh eggs to lay on, all that until they hatch and the chicks become mature chicks. But that's a whole video we're going to do very soon. They're going to take you through how you maintain a good breed and how your population to increase the population of your birds. That's by this whole process: the right cockerel, the right number of hens, the right number of eggs to lay on, the type of eggs, and all that. We're going to do a video special on that, so keep locked and look out for our other videos in future.
So we've spoken about chicken and how we started getting our first eggs, first meat. Now we are getting chicken droppings. We are getting leftover feeds from the rabbits. We also have the waste from the goats. And what that allowed us to do is to start composting. So here we have one of our compost pits. Initially, it's the main compost pit that we have. We used to have 3. We had 2 others down there, but because of the smallness of the land around that area, we decided to keep this one so that even the chicken can be feeding from there. So starting composting was very important for us, and I'll explain why. So when we came, actually before we came, we had asked, this is the very first area that we had. We had asked for some people to plant for us some collard greens and things like that. We were not aware of how bad the soil was in this place. So with that telephone farming, nothing was really working. But when we came, started composting, started learning more about the soil, and we started improving our soil slowly by slowly. It was the very first place that we had. We planted quite a bit. We had collard greens, we planted sugarcane. So this was within the first year. We planted things like spring onions, we planted tomatoes, we planted bulb onions, we planted peas. So at this point, we're experimenting. we're trying to see what does well here, what doesn't do well here. We planted bananas, and here we were just trying to, in this area, people majorly just grew maize, beans, and bananas. And in other areas far away from our village, other people grow sugarcane and other things. So for us, we didn't want to limit ourselves to what we can grow. So we were just experimenting with a lot of fruits and vegetables, and we'll get clips to show you what we're experimenting with. So we also planted a lot of fruit trees. We planted some citrus, we planted mangoes, we also planted avocado trees. We also planted pawpaws. This is one of the pawpaws. We planted some apple trees. We've literally planted almost everything on this farm. But the first year was mainly experimental to see what does well, what doesn't do well, how bad or good was the soil around here. Within the first year, we started making a few decisions. We started saying that this part of the land, we probably need it in future for poultry and other things. So slowly we started transitioning to that other part of the farm. So that is why on this area, you can no longer see vegetables. So we only have the fruits, because chicken cannot get to damage these fruit trees. So these are loquat fruit tree. We have some mango, some apple, we have some sugarcane and things like that, which are around where the area that the chicken are feeding from. So we transitioned the vegetable garden to the lower part of the farm after the first year.
Yeah, so as you are going on doing all the things that we explained to you about, and the chicken started growing in number, the other thing you realize is we didn't want the chicken to go into our neighbors' farms. Like you can see, our neighbor still there's land over here, and our chicken are inside here. So we don't know what they're going to plant there. So you need to protect so I don't have any conflict. You need to protect the birds from going there. So we had to put up a fence. And you can see we used a chain link and some posts from trees that we cut from the forest here. But the fence serves not just to protect chicken from going outside, but also when the chicken go outside and mix with birds from other people's places, then they are likely to bring diseases to the others that have not moved out. So that also protects them from diseases. And also even people just coming through the farm. You know, this is the village. People can pass anywhere where they want. And you see, people can come onto your farm, like to your chicken poultry farm, bring diseases, or they can step onto your vegetables and all that. That's why you have to put in the fence, which was quite a lot of cost actually, putting the fence for all this land. The land is about around 160 feet lengthwise. So that also cost us quite a bit, just putting on the fence. But it was important we have this fence to have some privacy on the farm.
So transitioning from the upper part of the farm to the lower part of the farm, it also came with its own challenges. As you explained, the terrain of our land is steep, like it's on top of a hill. So we experienced a lot of erosion, just like we're experiencing on the upper part of the farm. And another challenge that we didn't have on the upper part of the farm that came with this part was the presence of blue gum trees from our neighbors' land, which makes about half the land on that side to not have, nothing really grows on half of the land. So no matter how much compost we use, no matter what we've tried, half of that land is, I can say, probably like we don't get anything, we don't harvest anything from that part. So, and that's a tip I always mention in the videos. If you're acquiring land or if you have your own land, do not acquire farming land near blue gum trees, and do not plant blue gum trees where you're farming your crops, because they have this effect called the allelopathic effect, where they inhibit the growth of other plants on the farm. So that was another challenge that came with this part of the farm. So one of the ways that we decided to deal with the erosion is through raised beds. So to deal with erosion, we decided to use raised beds. So at the moment we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. At the moment we have 7 raised beds, and it also helped us to, because we don't yet have enough compost for the whole farm. It also helped us to concentrate the compost on a specific area. So this is one of the raised beds. We have 7 of them, and these are usually the best well kept parts of this farm. they give us the most produce. And at the same time, we also started a bit of vertical farming using sacks. We've shown that before, and using the plastic containers that helped us to reuse our plastics and also make good use of uh, harvest more from a smaller space because of using vertical gardening. So coming into the second year, there's a lot that we've achieved. At this point, we are not buying eggs, we are not buying poultry meat, uh, we are not buying spring onions, and we are harvesting a lot of vegetables from the farm. So with improved fertility, as the population of birds continued to increase and we were composting more, the soil fertility also continued to improve. So we used quite a bit of compost on the farm. We also have rabbit urine from the rabbits, and also a bit of cow manure that we could get from some of our neighbors because we don't keep cows. So our year two has been the year of plenty. We get our own sugarcane, and I'm just going to get one right now. Um, Let me get the one. So you can see this kind of sugarcane. It's very fat, very sweet, and we've talked about this before, how we ensure that we always get food from the farm. So when we started off in year one, we planted sugarcane at different stages. So you'd plant on month one, then you skip another period of time, you plant another bit, skip another period of time, plant another one. So that way, when one bunch of sugarcane matures, the other one is also growing, and by the time you're done with one bunch, you can move to the next. So this is the third bunch of sugarcane on the farm that has matured. So far, we've been eating from 2 bunches, and we have several other, about 20 or so bunches of sugarcane on the farm. So from harvesting sugarcane to collecting a lot of eggs, to harvesting lettuce, getting spring onions, getting carrots, getting some bell pepper, some collard greens, some bananas. Year two has been the year we said, wow, we're actually living the self-sufficiency life. In year two, we also introduced new crops. Remember, year one, we were experimenting, and we actually realized that a lot of crops could actually grow in this area. It's just that people were not growing them. So in year two, we also introduced other new crops, and these are cassavas. We are yet to harvest any of them because we don't think they are mature, but cassavas are not grown in this area. Another crop that we introduced in year two was the arrowroots. And we were actually surprised at how well they did. We could not believe that guys have not been growing them in this area. So these are the arrowroots that we did. And we've actually eaten so many arrowroots from this small part of the farm. It's quite a small, like about 4 steps. It's a very small area of the farm. So yeah, this is one of the crops that did very well, effortlessly. The only thing we used was manure that we get from the farm and compost. Yeah, and you can see how the avocado trees that we planted are thriving. These are the kienyeji avocado trees. They're actually thriving. And one of the reasons why we introduced a lot of fruit trees on the farm is that this area actually gets so hot. During the day, it's unbearably hot. So we decided to introduce a bit of shade for the crops. So when these trees grow, they'll introduce a bit of shade for the crops. That's one of the reasons we decided to have these fruit trees. So we do have avocado fruit trees. You have some mango. Those are the ones that grow quite big. And then we have others that don't grow quite big, like the oranges and the pawpaws and things like that. Yeah. So in year two, we also introduced some herbs on the farm. So we have rosemary, we have mint and basil. And we also introduced some strawberries. And I want to show you how big the strawberries are. You can see how big. Just see how big the strawberries are, and they're all organically grown. It's quite big. So all the efforts that we are doing on the farm, they're actually paying off. And even as we harvest more and more, even things like lettuce, we introduce them in the second year. And we actually realized that some of these crops are not that hard to grow. It's just that people around here were just used to the traditional ways of farming. So for us, we do not limit ourselves as to what we can grow. We also grow beetroot, we grow carrots. There are things that are not grown in this area. We grow lettuce, as I've mentioned. We've grown quite a bit of things that are not grown here, including bulb onions, and they're actually doing well. So it's one of the things that we hope that we can change the mindset of the community around this area as to the things that they can grow. And we've actually seen a bit of impact in that in the first year that we came here, we were able to harvest a lot of sweet potatoes. The people in this area had stopped farming sweet potatoes. They say some of them used to tell me for like 10 years they'd not been farming sweet potatoes. And they were quite surprised that we actually got a good harvest in our first year of farming. And now we can see almost all our neighbors have gone back to planting sweet potatoes, and not even a small batch. They are using quite a bit of land to plant sweet potatoes. And for us, it really makes us feel happy because we know we are having a positive impact on the neighbors around us.
So one of the things we also did, I think this year, first of all, we initially we are not planned to keep rabbits. But when you're driving from Nairobi to Kisii, somewhere just after Bomet, we met school kids selling rabbits, and we stopped and bought one male and two females, brought them to the farm. And out of that, we've had so many rabbits. Rabbits give birth, I think, every month or every other month, and they give birth to some. Ours are doing 6 to 8 small ones when they give birth. And so we got an idea to give these rabbits to kids, school-going kids around us here, so that during the holidays or after school, they are a little busy. The kids are a little busy. Instead of doing other things, they can go feed the rabbits and take care of the rabbits. And I think in that 1 year, I've given to about how many? Is it 4 or 5 kids from different families? We've given out around 12 rabbits, 11 or 12 rabbits during that period. And so the plan we have for this third year is to expand this project and make the rabbits accessible to more kids around here. And maybe that will help us help keep the kids busy, let them learn something about farming and also about earning their own income while they're still young, which is very good. Like I know 2 of the kids we gave to, the rabbits gave birth to about twice. I know one of them, who's the child to my brother, has sold 5 rabbits and bought shoes for school. And I'm sure the other kids are also doing the same. So this is a project we intend to grow this year and the next year and become big. So maybe sometime in future we'll have a big rabbit project around here, either for meat or for other things, but done by kids. So the other project that we're excited about, and I think we've done a video on this, however it's not yet started, is the dairy goats. We intend to, now that we have our own eggs at the farm, we have our own vegetables, we intend to have our own milk going into the future, and we settled on goat milk because goats are easier to manage than cows, according to us. So we already put up a goat shed. We are sourcing for goats, and we also realized that part of this third year project is that we have access now to more land. We have access to more than an acre, I think 1.5 acres. So we need to grow the food first before we bring the goats. So we are preparing that. We're going to show you in some of the videos that we are preparing the land, and we're going to plant food for the goats. Either the new it's called the new napier grass, the new and improved napier grass, and also there's, I don't know, it's called desmodium or something else. We're going to plant those for the goats. We intend to have, I think, two dairy goats and one male goat as a start. Yeah, and then the space beside the dairy goat shed, this one here, we're going to put up a goat shed again for meat goats. Um, Maybe we'll get 4 or 5, but they're going to occupy this space here, the dairy goats. And the other thing after the dairy goats, after the meat goats, is to have some pigs, 1 or 2, just for our meat. Because again, the area where we stay, people don't consume a lot of pork, but we love pork, so we're going to do behind them. We're going to put up a pork pig house. It's called a piggery, and some space for the pigs to play and eat outside.
So on our self-sufficiency journey, one of the things that we are aiming at in future is to reduce the cost of production of our food. So how are we going to achieve that? So the new project that is coming up, we hope to grow some more maize for our chicken, to be able to reduce on the cost of buying maize from the market, and also to grow food for our dairy goats and the meat goats that we'll be buying soon, so that in the long run, we do not have increased operational expenditure on the farm. So we want to structure the farm in a manner that is self-sustaining, such that at any given time, we are not incurring a lot of cost to feed our chicken, our goats, our rabbits. So like now for the rabbits, we use zero operational expenditure at the moment because they feed on weeds from the farm. So we want to get the same, we want to get the chicken to the level where that we are not buying feeds. So right now we are buying maize and the small prawns that we showed you called ochonga. But with our new project, we hope to achieve that. Another thing that we want to achieve is to be able to grow more food for our family. So on the new piece of land that will be working on this third year, we'll be able to grow more food, experiment with more things than we have. We'll be able to increase the arrowroot that we are eating, the sweet potatoes. We'll be able to grow more fruits, more vegetables. We'll also be able to experiment with any other new foods that we think would be important for our family. And one of those things that we really want to get here is there's some bananas that ripen. They mostly grow in the central part of Kenya, the big ones. So here we have the sweet bananas, but I haven't seen anybody growing that variety of bananas. I'm not sure what the name is, but we'll be trying to get some of that to this area and see how well they do. So the other thing that we want to achieve on this third year is that on this part of the land where we've shown you we have raised beds, we want the whole part of the land to have raised beds so that we can be able to produce our food better and get more food, because at the moment in areas where we don't have the raised beds, we are still experiencing the erosion. So anytime you directly sow on the ground and we get heavy rains, our seeds get washed away. So we have to keep redoing the planting. So we want to solve that issue on this third year by having more raised beds in this upper parts of the farm. So the next phase of our journey is on a very big piece of land, more than an acre of land. So we're imagining the much that we've been able to achieve on this piece of land, how much more could we do on a bigger piece of land? That part of it has actually gone for years without being used, but some of it will have to do a bit more work because it's been the same crop has been planted for the last several years. We'll have to deal with that issue. But can you imagine? We imagine all sorts of things at the moment. We want to have great success, and we'll take you along as we try and as we improve the fertility of that part of the land, as we grow more food for our animals, as we grow more food for ourselves. We'll take you from the first point of how the land is at the moment before we start doing anything on it, and where we'll be able to get it in a few months or a few years' time.
So that's our plans for the third year of self-sufficiency. At least the ones we know of. Once we complete those ones, we'll probably make some more plans as we keep expanding. So guys, that's been our journey. And you can see it's been both sides. It's been rewarding, it's been challenging, it's been inspiring, it's been very satisfying for us. So it's just a journey, like every other journey in life. If you're planning to get into this, the purpose to do this video is to just show you that it's achievable, but you'll go through all the cycles. You'll go through the successes, you'll go through the failures, you'll go through the challenges, but in the end, you'll come out victorious. But maybe I just say that there are lessons here that you've seen that you've gone through. First is probably to start small. You start small and then grow slowly as you keep learning lessons about the farming. The first thing is actually the passion. If you have the passion, then you start small. And when you start small, you grow. Every time you grow, you'll actually be motivated to go further or to do more as you're growing, as you're enjoying, as you get satisfied, as you get the feeling of serenity and simplicity. it's a very good journey that I would advise everyone to, those who really want this kind of life, to start. The most important aspect is just start. Once you start, then you'll just keep moving forward.
So growing up, farming was not the kind of lifestyle that we wanted actually, because growing up, we were growing up in the village. We were already, our parents were already farming. But to us, farming at the time was the lifestyle that we were working hard to run away from, because of the perception we had from our parents that farming was for those who are struggling in life. But over the years, our mindset has changed. And now to us, farming is the lifestyle that anybody should be able to embrace. For as long as you are not fighting for your basic needs, I think farming is that one thing that you would really enjoy because of the calmness, um, being one with nature, being in harmony with nature, working through the soil, working with the animals. There's just something so natural and so beautiful about it. So for us growing up, this is the lifestyle we didn't want, but it has greatly changed over the years. We were actually running away from farming. People, even in school, when we were being, the subjects that we were being taught, agriculture was not the subject that people desired to do, because farming was viewed as for the for those who are not educated, for those who are poor, and things like that. But um, with in the recent times, this perception has changed, and this is just to encourage any of you out there who would really love to delve into this kind of life, but you're probably afraid of what people are going to say and things like that. Really, farming, the perception of farming has been changing over the years. So don't be afraid to embrace this kind of life. It's really fulfilling, and we are a testament to what you can be able to achieve. We were beginners. We didn't know much apart from what we saw our parents doing here and there. We didn't know much. We've done a lot of what we've achieved. We've achieved it by starting small, doing it practically, learning, improving, and we continue to learn. We continue to perfect our skill, and you too can do it. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll be sharing more of what we are doing on the farm. We'll be sharing with you the projects that you're going to do, and we hope that you enjoy and continue to engage with us on our comment section. Let us know what you've tried to do or what you're planning to do, and we'll be sure to engage with you. Thank you.